If you're so smart, then pay your own bills. My mom's voice cut through the small apartment like sharp glass. I was still in my work uniform, grease stains on my shirt, feet sore from a double shift, when she shoved a stack of overdue notices into my hands as if they were my responsibility. She didn't ask about my day or whether I'd eaten. She just glared at me like I was the reason her life had gone wrong. I already paid the last two, I said quietly, staring at the red letters reading, past due. She scoffed. Then pay the rest. If you're so educated, so independent, so grown. She leaned in, nearly spitting the words, prove it. Pay your own bills. Something in me shifted. For years I worked, studied, and handed over my paychecks while she played the victim. That night, guilt finally gave way to anger. I didn't argue or cry. I walked to my room, grabbed my backpack, and packed clothes, my laptop, and the framed photo of me and my dad. My hands shook, but my mind felt clearer than it had in years. She followed me down the hall. Where do you think you're going? You told me to pay my own bills, I said, so I'm going to live my own life. I walked out and didn't look back. A month later, her name lit up my phone. I hesitated, then answered. Sarah, she yelled, breathless and frantic. Why is the power off? What did you do? I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of everything I'd done since leaving. My answer left her silent, and it was only the start. If you've been told you owe your family everything, stay with me. You'll see exactly what happened when I let my mom deal with her own bills, financially and emotionally. To understand why that call felt so final, you need the backstory. My name is Sarah. I'm 22. And money, or the lack of it, controlled our home for as long as I can remember. When my dad left years ago, he didn't just walk out on my mom, he walked out on me too. All he left behind was a photo, a pile of bills, and a mother who slowly turned her hurt into a weapon. My mom, Cynthia, used to be warm. After he left, she hardened. Every unpaid bill, every broken appliance, every failed job interview somehow became my fault. When I got my first job at 16, she took my debit card for safekeeping. We're a team, she'd say as she used my paycheck for rent, cigarettes, and cheap wine. By the time I started college, we meant me. She stopped trying to find steady work and used my scholarships, loans, and side jobs to cover everything. If I ever complained, she'd snap, Do you want us on the street? Your father didn't care. At least I stayed. So I stayed too. I worked late, studied later, and handed over whatever I earned. Anytime I tried to set limits, she twisted it into an accusation. You think you're better than me because you went to college. The night she told me to pay your own bills wasn't really about utilities. It was about years of being treated like an ATM with feelings she refused to acknowledge. I crashed on my friend Lily's couch that night, the one person who had seen everything unfold from the outside. We sat in the dim living room, streetlight shining through the blinds, as I replayed the argument. You finally left, Lily whispered. You should have done it years ago. I know, I said, staring at my silent phone. But she still has everything in my name. The lease, the utilities, the internet. If she stops paying, they'll come after me. Can't you remove your name? Lily asked. That question sparked something. I'd spent years fixing her mistakes and protecting her from consequences. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if I stopped. A few days later, I went back to pick up the rest of my things while she was out. That's when I found it. An envelope with my name. Final notice. I opened it and felt sick. It wasn't just the power bill. It was a credit card I had never opened. Thousands in debt in my name. I stood in the silent apartment staring at proof that this wasn't a struggling parent relying on her child. This was a breach of trust. And at that moment, my plan stopped being emotional and became deliberate. I grabbed the envelope and others I hadn't seen before and rushed back to Lily's, heart pounding. We spread the letters across her coffee table like evidence. My name, my social security number, my credit score sinking under charges I never made, stores I'd never been to, food deliveries across town, cash advances. She opened credit cards in your name? Lily asked. Sarah, this is identity theft. This is illegal. She's my mom, I whispered, even though the words felt empty. I remembered all the times she dismissed letters as junk mail, all the times she had me sign papers without reading, all the times she snapped if I asked questions. I trusted her because she was my mother. I never imagined she'd jeopardize my future to stabilize her present. You can't keep covering for her, Lily said. She's not just using your money, she's using your name. That night, while Lily slept, I sat alone with my laptop, the letters, and a notebook. I pulled my credit report. Each line hurt. Utility accounts in my name. Credit cards. A loan I never applied for. I wrote down every detail: account numbers, dates, balances. I took screenshots of texts where she guilted me into sending money. I saved voicemails where she yelled or accused. It felt wrong, like I was betraying her, until I remembered those red notices and her voice saying, "If you're so smart, then pay your own bills." She never apologized for making me responsible for her life. The next day, Lily took me to a free legal aid clinic. I showed the woman my documents. She reviewed them and said, "Legally, this is serious. You can dispute the accounts, file a fraud report, even press charges. You don't have to decide today, but protect yourself." Press charges? I repeated. Against my own mom? Against the person who stole your identity, she clarified. Biology doesn't excuse criminal behavior. I walked out shaking, but something in me had changed. For years, my mom hid behind the word family as if it made her untouchable. That night, I closed my bank account and opened a new one. I changed my direct deposit. I contacted utility companies and removed my name from every account tied to her address. For electricity, the representative said, "If your name is removed, the remaining account holder is fully responsible. If it goes unpaid, service will be disconnected. Please note that," I replied. "I won't be making further payments." Understood, she said. I hung up and stared at my phone. This wasn't a tantrum. It wasn't selfish or ungrateful. It was me cutting the control she'd held for years. Lily leaned against the doorway. "How do you feel?" Scared, I admitted. But for the first time, I'm not the one who's going to take the hit. I knew the bills would come soon. The power, the rent, the credit cards. And this time, she couldn't shift them onto me. She wanted me to pay my own bills. Fine. She would finally pay hers. About a month after I left, my life finally felt like mine. I picked up extra shifts, found an affordable room so I wasn't sleeping on Lily's couch, and slowly started climbing out of the debt she created in my name. I disputed the fraudulent accounts, added alerts to my credit file, and kept every piece of evidence in a carefully organized folder. But I hadn't done one thing. I hadn't called her. I saw her missed calls and read her texts without replying. "Where are you? You can't ignore me forever, so now you think you're too good for your own mother." Each message added another layer between us. One evening, while folding my uniform after a shift, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. Her name appeared on the screen. I almost ignored it, but then I remembered the utility call from weeks earlier. Curiosity won, and I answered. "Sarah," she shouted immediately. "What did you do? Why is the power off? The whole apartment is dark. My food is spoiling. I can't charge my phone. I can't see anything." I could imagine her pacing through the living room, acting as if this happened without warning, as though bills were random consequences instead of responsibilities. I took a breath and kept my voice steady. "Did you pay the electric bill?" "Don't start with me," she snapped. "You always handled it. They said the account holder removed herself and there's a past due balance. Why would you do this to me? Are you trying to ruin my life?" For a moment, the old guilt resurfaced, the instinct to rush back, pay everything, and apologize for leaving. But then I remembered the envelopes, the fraudulent accounts, my damaged credit, and her yelling at me while shoving overdue notices into my hands, telling me to pay your own bills. "I didn't do anything to you," I said slowly. "I just stopped paying for you." Silence. "What is that supposed to mean?" she demanded. "It means the electricity account is now in your name alone," I explained. I removed myself. If you don't pay, it gets cut. That's how the system works. I'm not your cosigner, I'm not your guarantor, and I'm not your backup plan anymore. "You ungrateful child," she hissed. "After everything I've sacrificed for you, you're leaving me in the dark?" "You didn't sacrifice for me," I said, my voice shaking but controlled. "You sacrificed me. You took my money. You opened credit cards using my information. You damaged my credit. You made me responsible for your life and blamed me whenever it fell apart." "That's not true." "I'm your mother," she yelled as if that erased everything. "I have copies of everything," I replied. "The accounts, the signatures, the statements. I've already begun disputing them. I spoke with legal aid. This isn't just family conflict anymore." She went silent. Sarah, she whispered, her tone suddenly small. You wouldn't. You wouldn't turn on me like that. You wouldn't bring strangers into our business. Our business? I repeated. You made it my business when you put everything under my name. Breathing hard, she tried one more tactic. If you tell anyone, I'll make sure the whole family hears how you abandoned me. Everyone will know how selfish you are. I almost laughed. Good, I said. Because I'm done being the excuse you use to hide your behavior. If you want to involve them, we'll discuss everything. With proof. Her quiet shock crackled through the line. For the first time, I wasn't begging her to calm down. I wasn't smoothing things over. I was the stable one, and she was the one losing control. Get used to it, I added. The power shutting off? That's just the first bill coming due. I ended the call before she could respond. My heart raced, my hands shook. It felt like jumping from a cliff and realizing halfway down that I might actually land on my feet. My revenge wasn't harming her. It was refusing to set myself aside to keep her comfortable. But I knew her. She wouldn't accept any of this easily. And I was right, because the next time she reached out, she didn't just yell, she threatened me. The text started first. You're destroying me. I raised you alone, and this is your repayment. If you don't fix this, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. I ignored them until one message made my stomach twist. I told your aunt you stole from me. There it was again. If she couldn't control me, she'd control the story about me. Not this time. My aunt called the next day, sounding furious. Sarah, how could you take money from your mother and then leave? She's sitting in the dark because of you. I let her talk. Then I asked calmly, have you seen any bills? Any accounts? Any proof? Well, no, but I'll bring everything, I interrupted. All of it. I'll come over tonight. Invite anyone you want. Mom, too. There was a pause. Fine. That evening, I walked into my aunt's home with my folder under my arm. My mom was already seated, looking small and fragile, wrapped in a sweater like she was the one harmed. She didn't look at me. My aunt stood. Sarah, this has gone too far. Your mother is embarrassed to explain how bad things are. You owe her. I set the folder on the table and placed a stack of documents beside it. I owe her the truth, I said. Electric bills in my name, credit card statements, a loan application using my information with handwriting that wasn't mine, and my credit report. Read the names on the accounts, I said. My aunt picked one up, frowning. This is your name. Every single one, I confirmed. Opened, used, ignored. Not by me. I was in class. I was at work. I didn't even know these accounts existed until I moved out. My mom jumped to her feet. You ungrateful snake, she snapped, rifling through the papers. Digging through my private things, trying to smear me. You did that yourself, I said, keeping my voice steady. You told me to pay my own bills while putting yours under my name. That isn't parenting. It's exploitation. My aunt's face grew pale as she looked through more pages. Cynthia, is this true? My mom's expression broke. We're family, she snapped. Kids help their parents. You wouldn't understand. You had a husband who stayed. So you decided your daughter's future was your financial safety net? My aunt said, voice shaking, but her anger wasn't aimed at me. Mom glared at me. You went to strangers, lawyers. You think they care about you? When they're done, they'll walk away. But I'm your blood. Blood doesn't give you the right to drain me, I replied. I pulled out one final document, a printed email thread. These are my disputes with the credit agencies, and this is the fraud report I filed. It lists the accounts opened without my consent and who opened them. My aunt read it. It's widening. You named her. I had to, I said. If I didn't, I'd be held responsible for debts I didn't create. I'd carry this for years while she kept telling me to grow up, yet refused to take responsibility herself. My mom reached for the papers, but my aunt stepped in front of her. Enough, she said sharply. You lied to us, Cynthia. You told us she abandoned you and stole from you. She did, Mom insisted. She stole my chance at a better life. No, I interrupted. Dad leaving took that. Everything after that was your choice. The doorbell rang. My aunt frowned. Who else is coming? I asked the landlord to stop by. I said, heart pounding. He needed to confirm something about the lease. The landlord stepped in, polite but direct. Evening. I won't stay long. I just needed to confirm that Sarah is officially removed from the lease next month. I processed the change. After that, the unit will be under Cynthia's name alone. Then he looked at my mom. If the outstanding balance isn't paid by the end of the notice period, We'll have to proceed with eviction. My mom's face drained. Eviction? You've received multiple notices, he said gently. We can't keep a tenant who doesn't pay, especially now that the cosigner has been legally removed. Mom turned to me, horrified and furious. You did this. You're throwing me out of my home. I swallowed. No, I just stopped letting you use my name to avoid consequences. What happens now is between you and the bills you told me to stop paying. The room felt tense. You'll regret this, she whispered. One day you'll need me, and I'll remember this. I thought about my damaged credit, the years of stress, and the nights I cried over overdue balances while she slept peacefully. I already regret not doing it sooner, I said. And for the first time, when she stormed out, I didn't follow. But the fallout from that night came faster than I expected. The next few days felt unreal. My aunt stopped defending my mom and instead asked how she could help. The rest of the family eventually heard the truth, not because she shaped the story first, but because they saw the documents and heard the landlord. They realized I hadn't abandoned her. I had removed myself from a harmful situation. My mom, meanwhile, escalated. She filled my phone with messages, shifting between sympathy and anger. When she said, "How could you humiliate me like that? Now everyone thinks I'm a monster because of you," I felt myself go cold. She insisted she had done what she needed to keep us afloat and told me that if I didn't repair things for her, she was done with me. When I didn't answer, she added that I had always been a mistake. I blocked her number. It felt harsh but necessary. At work, I took on more hours. I met with a counselor at school who helped me see that what I had gone through wasn't tough love or typical single parent struggle. It was abuse financial, emotional, and psychological. I keep feeling guilty, I admitted in one session, like I'm the villain in my own story. That's because your roles were reversed for years, she explained. You were the parent, and now that you've stopped playing that part, she's punishing you. That doesn't make you the villain. It makes you someone who finally stopped enabling. Meanwhile, the legal and financial issues started shifting. Some fraudulent accounts were frozen. Investigations began. My credit stopped dropping. It wasn't fixed, but there was finally a direction. A few weeks later, my aunt called. They put a notice on her door. She said quietly, "Eviction. 30 days." I closed my eyes. I had pictured this moment, even imagined it when she shouted that I owed her everything. But hearing it spoken aloud still hurt. She's telling everyone you planned this to ruin her, my aunt continued. But most of us know she caused it herself. Some pity her, but many are exhausted. Are you? I asked. I'm tired of watching her wear you down, my aunt said. I'm proud of you, Sarah, even if this is messy. I hung up and sat in my small rented room staring at the wall. This wasn't a dramatic revenge moment. It was quieter and more complicated. My chest hurt, but beneath the ache was something else. Relief. A week before eviction, there was a knock at my door. My mom stood there. She looked smaller, worn down, exhausted. Her eyes had lost their sharpness. Her hair was pulled back without care. You blocked my number, she said. So I had to come in person. My pulse jumped, but I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway with my hand on the frame, drawing a boundary she had never respected. What do you want? I asked. She let out a bitter laugh. What do I want? I want my life back. I want my daughter. I want power, shelter, and some dignity. But apparently, you took all that with you. You had all of that before treating me like a credit card, I said. She flinched. I made mistakes. I panicked. I didn't know how to handle things after your father left. Every month was another crisis. I grabbed whatever I could to keep us going. You grabbed me, I told her. You grabbed my future. I did it for us, she insisted. I thought you'd understand when you were older. I thought you'd be grateful someday. Grateful? I repeated. For being in debt before I even started life? For rebuilding credit you damaged? For being yelled at whenever I couldn't fix problems I didn't create? Her jaw tightened. Fine. Hate me. Let me be the villain. But when they set my things outside and people whisper, they'll remember your name too. They'll say, "That's the daughter who let it happen." My hands trembled, but I steadied myself. I didn't let it happen, I said. I stopped letting you happen to me. She stared at me, waiting for me to break, to apologize, to solve everything like before. I didn't. I'm not coming to fix this. I'm not paying your rent. I'm not restoring your power. If you want help, Go to the same legal clinic I did. See a counselor. Get a job that doesn't rely on borrowing from people who care about you. But I'm not your support system anymore. Tears filled her eyes, and for a moment I saw the mother she used to be, the one who took care of me when I was sick, who braided my hair before school. Then she turned away. You'll regret this, she whispered, walking down the hall. I watched her leave and understood something. She had said that my whole life, but this time, I didn't believe her. Our story, however, wasn't finished. On the day they came to clear out her apartment, she called me one last time. And this time, I answered. The eviction day was gray and heavy. I knew the date but had no plan to go near the building. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Hello, Sarah. Her voice was weak, drained of its usual fight. It's me. I'm using the neighbor's phone. They're here. I could picture it clearly. Movers, a sheriff, maybe the landlord. Boxes on the sidewalk, neighbors pretending not to stare. I stayed silent. They're putting my things outside, she continued. Our couch, your old dresser, the kitchen table, everything. They were her things now, not ours. That mattered. I just thought, she said with a bitter laugh, you might want to see the result of your big, smart decisions. I closed my eyes. You mean the result of your own? Silence settled between us. Are you happy now? She asked. You got your revenge. The power's off. The bills are in my name. I'm losing the apartment. You win, I thought for a moment. This was never about winning, I said. It was about survival. I didn't ruin your life. I stopped holding up the parts you refused to handle. You could have helped, she whispered. You could have fixed it. I did help, I said. For years, with money, time, and my mental health. You never called that help. You just called it what I owed you. The moment I asked for balance, I became selfish. The moment I left, I was ungrateful. The moment I protected myself, you called it revenge. Isn't it? She pushed. Admit it. You liked hearing the panic in my voice when the power went out. I swallowed, yes. Part of me did. Part of me needed you to feel even a fraction of what I felt every time you threw another bill on the table and told me to solve it. But the difference is, when your lights went out, you still had choices. You're an adult. You can work, you can seek help. When mine went out, I was a child and you were the one flipping the switch. She didn't respond. Where will you go? I asked quietly. I don't know, she muttered. Your aunt said I could stay for a bit, but she's not paying my debts. Suddenly, everyone has boundaries after your little presentation. She said, presentation, like an insult. They look at me differently now. That's not my fault, I replied. That's what honesty does. I heard voices in the background. Someone saying, Ma'am, we need you to sign this. Her breathing was unsteady. Why are you really calling me? I asked. There was a long pause. Because I wanted to ask, she said, her voice breaking. Is there any part of you that still loves me? The question cut through every barrier I'd built. I leaned against the wall, eyes stinging. I thought about bedtime stories, scraped knees, and birthday cakes. I also remembered slammed doors, shouting, and the first time she put a bill in my hands and called it our responsibility. I do love you, I said softly. That's why all of this hurts. If I didn't love you, walking away would have been easy. Then why? She cried. Did you let it get this far? Because loving you doesn't require letting you destroy me, I answered, and it doesn't erase what you did. This, I gestured even though she couldn't see, this is the cost of your choices, not my boundaries. My choices? She asked, steadying herself. So that's it? You're done with me? No, I said. I'm done being your unpaid therapist, your wallet, your excuse, your shield. If you ever decide to get real help, to go to therapy, to work on yourself, to repay even a fraction of what you took, I'll listen. But until then, the only thing I can offer you is distance. The silence that followed was heavier than before. I told you once, she said quietly, that you'd regret this someday. Maybe, I replied. But I already regret the years I spent trying to save you from consequences you created. I'm not losing any more time. In the background, I heard the landlord. Ma'am, we need to finish up. I have to go, she whispered. Goodbye, Mom, I said. The word felt both familiar and unfamiliar. I hope one day you pay your bills and your debts to the people who cared about you. She didn't answer, but I heard her breath catch. Then the call ended. I stood in my small room with the phone still in my hand, feeling empty and unexpectedly lighter. Somewhere across town, the apartment I grew up in was being cleared out. The power was off. The door would soon be locked behind strangers. She once yelled, "If you're so smart, then pay your own bills." In the end, that's exactly what I did. I paid mine, and for the first time in her life, she had to pay hers.